Well, wow. And I'll even say it backwards, wow. You know, when they told me that giving a speech was part of getting the Golden Kite Award, I kind of paused for a few moments, not because I'm really scared of public speaking, but because getting this award means a lot to me, and I wanted to make sure that I did it justice. So I pondered, and I thought, well, should I try to be funny? Should I try to be all crafty and literary? Should I try to be profound? And I decided that what I'm really best at is telling stories. So I'm going to tell you 3 short stories about how Sophie Squash came to be and why getting the Golden Kite Award is so important to me. So the first story is about an epiphany. I've wanted to write books for children pretty much as far back as I can remember. When I was an elementary school student, I used to go to the card catalog, if you remember those, and flip through, and I'd find where my card would go when I wrote a book. When I was in 5th or 6th grade, I'd sneak off to the picture book section of my same school library when I was really supposed to be researching something much more boring, and I would read picture books. I wrote my first draft of a picture book manuscript when I was 19. It was called If I Had a Lion, and I believe it began, I wish I had a lion. If I did, I'd make it roar. I'd walk him up and down my street and never ask for more. And it went on in that vein. I had absolutely no idea what I would do with it. Somehow I found the address of a publisher. I don't even remember who it was. I sent it off. And in due course, I got a formal rejection. And ironically, I wasn't devastated, but I did stop trying. I did other things. I graduated from college. I got married. I got a job. I had kids. I got a master's degree, I got a better job, and I was happy. But throughout all that path, I still kept thinking that someday I would write a children's book. And then when I was 39, 20 years after I wrote my first attempt at a picture book manuscript, I had an epiphany. And when I tell you what it is, you're going to pretty much say, well, hello, Captain Obvious. But for me, it was like this huge realization. And the realization was that no editor from New York City was ever going to call me out of the blue and go, hey, Pat, we heard you wanted to write a picture book. And so I thought, well, you know, if I really want to do this, I'm going to have to actually sit down and write a book. And so once I realized that very obvious fact, I sort of became a woman with a mission. I went to the library and I checked out every picture book I could find by every picture book writer I had ever been impressed with. I read everything by m4a. I read everything by Kevin Henkes. I read everything by a whole litany of people, and I really analyzed them. How did they do it, and what made the books so satisfying? And when I wasn't reading picture books, I was writing them. Now, I had a full-time job, and I still do, so most of my writing was done at night. I basically stopped watching TV, except for Glee and Chopped, because I didn't want to get real before So I wrote. And as I wrote, I got better. I would go to bed thinking about picture books, and I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be thinking about picture books, which is actually a really happy way to go through life. And that brings me to my second short story, which is about a squash. So I was working on a lot of different manuscripts as I was trying to figure out what I was doing. And my favorite was one about something that had happened to my daughter when she was 3. She and I were at the grocery store. She was sitting in the front of the cart, and I was putting all things. I was throwing my Golden Kite Award around. I was throwing all kinds of things into the cart, including a butternut squash. And when it came time to check out, I could not find the squash. It wasn't in the basket where I remember putting it. It wasn't down below where you stick the cat litter in the milk. And then I realized my daughter had rescued the squash from the back of the cart and was holding it in her arms and rocking it like it was a baby. So I paid for it. She rocked it all the way home. She put a face on it, and it became her friend. Now, when I speak to school groups, I say, do you think we ever ate that squash? And they respond, no, of course we didn't eat the squash. You can't eat the squash after that. So it became a friend. And that idea was the spark that led to Sophie Squash. But it took me a really long time to figure out how to take that cute little anecdote and turn it into a fully fleshed out, fully realized story. It took me at least 10 full revisions. There were 4 or 5 different endings, including the Scooby-Doo ending. Just a lot of work. 3 different editors asked me for revision requests, which I did, but then did not result in sales. And along with the time I was writing other stories too. I wasn't putting all my squash in one basket. And so I was writing other stories, and those were getting rejected too. In fact, I think when you add it all up, and I don't think I know because I had an Excel spreadsheet, I got 126 rejections before I got my first acceptance. Which leads me that brings me to the fun part of the story number 3, which is about success. So one Friday afternoon, the phone rang, and it was Ann Schwartz from Schwartz & Wade, which is a division of Random House. And she said, you probably don't remember sending a Sophie Squash, because I had sent it off, I think, 8 or 9 months ago, because it was through the slush, and I thought, oh, I remember. Yeah. And they wanted to publish it. And so it turns out that one yes is all you need. And I was very happy to get that yes. And then suddenly Sophie Squash existed. Everything I had hoped for was right there in front of me. And then some really awesome things started happening that I had never thought to hope for. It got 4-star reviews. It won or was the runner-up for a couple of really cool awards, including this one. And things just started working out. Two other really cool things that happened were my box of free author copies arrived. You know, you get 25 free author copies. And my teenage daughter, my oldest daughter, who wasn't the one that inspired the story, she opened the box up, she pulled out a book, she flipped through it, and then she said, wow, Mom, this almost looks legit. And you know, from a teenager, that's actually a compliment. And then I started getting email. Parents would send me pictures of their child holding a squash with a face on it. I get pictures of kids holding other vegetables. I don't know what squash is. A watermelon, a head of garlic, an apple, you know. I wasn't sure if the parents were happy about this or if they secretly hated me. So I got all of that, and then I even heard from teachers and librarians who were having their classes decorate squash and take them home. Or there was one preschool in DC that had a little butternut squash that became like an actual member of their preschool class. They had its own yoga mat for yoga time. And they sent me pictures of all this. It had its own little nap and its own little stuffed toy to nap with. And each kid had a turn taking the squash with them every day. And so for months, the squash was part of their class. And then inevitably, you know, nature took its course. And they planted the squash and they sent me pictures of the new squash plant. That was adorable. Stuff that happened, you might logically ask, well, what took you so long? Why did it take you 20 years from when you first wrote your picture book manuscript to finally getting around to treating it seriously like it was a full-time job? And I don't have a great answer. The only thing I know is that sometimes the goals we want the most are the ones that are the hardest to pursue. Because what if we fail? What if we try and have to admit to ourselves that we really aren't quite good enough? It's easier to say, well, I'll do it later. I'm too busy. I don't really have the time to try. But I would encourage you all, if that's your goal, to put in the time that it takes to do the work, because you might end up someplace you never had to be, like getting the Golden Kite Award at the National SCBWI Conference in Los Angeles, California. Thank you so much.